Hello, friends. Welcome back to English Classes Online. My name is Benjamin. Today's video is on literature in English, how to answer questions on literary appreciation, West African Senior School Certificate Examination, Literature in English Preparatory Lesson. If you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. You will find a red button tagged subscribe. Simply click on it and you will be subscribed to the channel. You will have free access to all the videos uploaded on this channel. And if you click on the bell icon, that will immediately activate the notification system so that when next I upload a new video on the channel, you will receive instant notification. So go ahead, after clicking on the subscribe button, click also on the bell icon. Having said that, let's dive into the lesson right away. We are going to look at West African Senior School Certificate Examination of June 2019, Literature in English 1, Objective Test Questions, Section A, Part 1. And the focus is on general knowledge of literature, otherwise known as literary appreciation. Of course, at this juncture, I want you to understand that to be able to answer questions correctly in this section of the literature exam, you need the knowledge of the literary terms, all right? Literary terms are those expressions, words that are associated with literature and literary analysis. And literary terms are the tools for analyzing and appreciating literature. So we are going to look at various literary terms. I will explain the literary terms and how you can actually pick the correct option. So let's begin with question 1. A literary work which is intended to teach a moral lesson is A, romantic, no? B, didactic, yes. This is the option because a didactic work of art is any work of art or literary work that is intended to teach moral lessons. You have didactic poetry, you know, any work of art, in fact, that teaches a moral lesson is known as didactic, all right? Now, mimetic, no, when you talk of mime, is when anything that has to, you know, is a kind of drama. When you talk of mime or pantomime, you know, it has to do with something that, you know, imitates another, or when we talk of pantomime, is a little bit a reference to the kind of drama that doesn't use audio, but, you know, uses gestures and gesticulations, movements, you know, just to express the intended message without using words, all right? Moralistic is from the word moral, but it's not really a term we use in referring to a literary work that teaches a moral lesson. The answer is didactic, all right? Now, question number 2. A short account of an interesting event is A, tale, no. B, an anecdote, yes. An anecdote is really a short account of an interesting event. Now, an episode is, an account of event, but it is part of a series of events, when you have a series of episodes that make up a particular story. All right. A story is an account of events, but when we talk of an anecdote, it's really a short account of an interesting event. Question number 3. He is a citizen of no mean city. Illustrates A, battles. Well, it's not battles, because when we talk of battles, we are referring to, battles refers to, a sudden change in speech or writing, when you find a style of writing, something very important or serious is being discussed or being portrayed, then all of a sudden there is a change from that very important and serious note to something almost ridiculous, all right? Something unimportant, something ordinary, all right? So that is battles. Sometimes it could be intentional, sometimes it could be unintentional, but that is battles. Now, euphemism is when you use good words to describe an ugly situation. For instance, instead of saying you want to go to the toilet, you say you want to visit the restroom, all right? Now, metonymy is using something to refer, referring to something by using another thing that is related to it, just that is related to it. For example, when you want to talk about lawyers or judges, then you use the wig and the gown to refer to them, or you use the pen to refer to writers. When you say the pen is mightier than a sword, the sword is used to refer to the military, then the pen to writers, so that is metonymy. Now, the litotes is actually the answer, because litotes has to do with understatement, It is the opposite of hyperbole. Hyperbole is exaggeration. When you make a mountain out of a molehill, when you exaggerate something, that is hyperbole. But the opposite is litotes. Litotes, as a matter of fact, is when you use an understatement. And something obviously is missing here. Let me complete this. I think there's an omission here. Litotes has to do with, there is E here. All right, there is E. So that is litotes. It's an understatement. He is a citizen of no mean city. Instead of saying that he is a citizen of a great city, you instead of using the word great, you say no mean city. If something is very good or excellent, instead of saying it is very good or excellent, then you say it's not bad. All right. So that is understatement, and that is litotes. All right. That is litotes. So question number 4, the introductory part of a play, a novel, or a poem is the A, epilogue. No, epilogue is actually the last part, the concluding part of a book can be called epilogue. Now, a plot is the arrangement of events in a story or a play. The setting refers to the place and time of the events or actions in a story or play? Now, the answer here is prologue, all right, because prologue is certainly the introductory part of a play, a novel, or a poem. Now, question number 5, an elegy, an elegy is a poem of dash, a mourning, yes, that is an elegy, a poem of lamentation that is used to lament the demise or the death of a loved one, that is elegy. Now, is not of complaint or of hope or of joy, all right? Then question number 6, the trees bowed their heads in shame illustrates a personification. That's correct. Personification is a figure of speech that uses human qualities to describe a non-human entity. So trees are described with human qualities or attributes because only human beings can bow their heads in shame. All right. Alliteration is the repetition of the initial consonant sounds in a line of poetry. Assonance refers to vowel sounds in lines of poem. Paradox is a statement that combines two opposite ideas. So I'm explaining this so that you will understand these literary terms. These are terms that are used in literature, all right? And if you want to answer questions correctly, in section A, part 1 of your literature in English, in West African Senior School Certificate Examination, National Examinations Council, NABTEB, or any other senior certificate examination, of course, you need to have a full mastery of the literary terms. Now, question number 7, a character whose actions are predictable in a literary work is a round character. No, a round character is a character that undergoes a change, a transformation in a work of art. So for instance, if a character at the beginning of the story or play or any literary work is seen as a wicked person, but towards the end, it changes in character, then of course that becomes a round character. Or there is a change in the character. Either the character develops, the character begins as an ignorant or naive, or a foolish character, but in the process of time, that character changes and becomes wise. A change takes place. That's a round character. Then a flat character is really the answer here, because a flat character doesn't undergo any change. The character just remains the same. That's why it's called a flat character. There's no change. The hero is the protagonist and the villain is the antagonist, or a character who plays the negative role. All right. So these are the literary terms. Let's wipe the screen and then we go to the next screen, okay? And then we answer other questions there. So now we are going to question number 8. Question number 8. A scene in fiction enacting past events is a allusion. No, allusion is when you make a reference to an important event in history or something, maybe a work of art or an authoritative document, all right, such as the Bible. All right. So now, if you say that someone is the Solomon of our time, you are making a biblical allusion. So allusion is different. Now, foreshadow is something that signals a future event. So that is really not a scene enacting past events. The answer is flashback, and actually is a narrative technique that, enacts a past event, something that happened in the past, and in the course of narrating what is happening in the present, then you make a flashback. You refer to that past event and connect it to what is happening in the present time. For example, if somebody committed a crime in the past, and there's another thing that is similar to that, then of course, or there is something happening that is a result of something else that happened in the past, then flashback becomes necessary. Now, an interlude is something that happens in the middle of something else. So the answer is flashback. Question number 9. Poetic license is a term applied to a poet's choice of words. No, choice of words is called diction. Diction is choice of words. Choice of characters. No, choice of characters is a different thing. When we talk of characterization, is the presentation of characters, all right, in a work of art, how you depict the characters, assign roles to them. Then restrictions in the use of language, no, that is the opposite. The answer is freedom in the use of language. That obviously is what poetic license is. A poet can use words, sometimes outrageously, and even break some grammatical rules in the process of achieving some literary aesthetics. So that is poetic license. Now let's look at this expression, Milton, thou shouldest be living at this hour. Then question 10 is based on that. The literary device used in the line above is a aside. No, aside is when a character, says something that, is meant for the audience, but the other characters are not carried along. So apostrophe is actually the answer here, because apostrophe is a literary device that is used to address an absent entity, something that is absent, that is non-existent at the time of address, such as you will find here. Obviously Milton is probably somebody who is dead, and probably at the burial or something, or the funeral. Now this person is addressing Milton, who obviously has passed on, but is addressing Milton and saying, thou shouldest be living at this hour. So so you can't be talking to somebody who is there with you and you will be saying that the person should be living. If the person is there, then obviously you won't be making a statement like that. So this is an obvious apostrophe. Soliloquy is where a character is thinking aloud, just saying something, but to nobody in particular. Is just saying something to himself, so to say. Now, suspense is, a situation where there is a conflict in a work of art, and the audience are, wondering, they are emotionally touched, because it is a situation that they become curious, they want to know, they are wondering what is going to happen next. So that is suspense, is a result of conflict in a work of art. Then let's look at another expression here. Here lie I, Martin, Eligimbrode, or something like that. Have mercy on my soul, Lord God. Now, we see these two lines, and then question 11 is based on this expression. The extract above illustrates a epitaph. Epitaph is correct because epitaph is a kind of written something you find in a graveyard, all right? Something that that depicts a dead person lying in the grave. And so when these lines say, "Here lie I, Martin, a legging brother," a legging broad, something like that. Have mercy on my soul, Lord God. So that is an epitaph. Now, an elegy, as earlier mentioned, is a poem of lamentation, a poem of mourning. All right. A ballad is a kind of song that actually is a different type of poem. And dirge is similar to elegy, but it's something that can be performed like a song, but it is also a poem of that is meant for, you know, a funeral when someone is dead. All right, so these are obviously uh, different types of poems, but an epitaph is more relevant to the graveyard. So question number 12, we live to die, we die to live is an example of a paradox. Yes, a paradox is a statement that combines two opposite ideas. All right, these ideas are opposite. We live to die, we die to live. You know, these are two opposite ideas. And when something is paradoxical on the surface, it seems to be meaningless. But when you really give it a thought, it conveys some meaning. We live to die. Yes, every living human being is going to die. Then we die to live is also a reference to probably life after death. Because when the body dies, the soul, you know, lives on in eternity. So it's actually a statement of fact, but when you look at it on the surface, you find a kind of contradiction, a paradox on the surface appears to be contradictory, but when you think about it deeply, you find some meaning, some truth in it. Now, hyperbole is the use of exaggeration. For example, if you want to describe somebody and you say that he is as tall as an Iroko tree, that is an exaggeration. Or you say that, you know, you have visited somebody 1,000,000 times. It's not possible for you to have visited somebody 1,000,000 times within a given period. It's just the use of exaggeration. So hyperbole is the use of exaggeration. Now, inversion is, you know, the change, a syntactical change. You know, for example, when you pick a sentence and you change the word order, you know, um, um, let me give an example of an inversion. Uh, well, let me look for something. Okay. John did the work excellently. Okay. Now, an inversion is when you change the word order. For example, when we talk of this, you can see that if we analyze this syntactically, what we find is when we look at the word order here, then what do we find here? All right, let's analyze this sentence, and you will discover that what we have here is S. Okay. Let me try to give some space. All right. So John, let me look at. John is the subject here. Let's use the, John is the subject. Okay. Then let's look at did is the verb. Okay. The work is the object. And then you look at excellently is the adverbial. So you have SVOA structure. All right. So let's now take this and then we try to change the word order. Now, when we say the work did John excellently, then of course, this is an example of inversion. What did we do? We have put the verb before the subject. Look at here, John comes before the verb. John is the subject and did is the verb, and the subject comes before the verb. That's the normal word order in a statement in the English language. Now, inversion, just distorts this word order. And what we find here, let me correct work, please. The work did John excellently. So again, here we find that the work is the object which comes last, or just before the last, and then we bring this to the first position. And again, we bring the verb before the subject. So that is what inversion does. And then the option D is oxymoron. Oxymoron resembles a paradox because oxymoron is, placing two opposite ideas side by side. But in most cases, the difference between a paradox and an oxymoron is that whereas a paradox is a statement, oxymoron is usually a phrase. Now, when you hear something like bittersweet, okay, it was a bittersweet experience. All right, so this is example of oxymoron. The phrase bittersweet is an oxymoron. Or if we say Jack is, the wisest fool I have ever seen. Now, when you talk of wisest and again place it together with fool, that is really a juxtaposition or a placing side by side of two completely opposite ideas. That is what oxymoron does. And you have several oxymoronic expressions, all right? Like when you say that somebody is a wise fool, all right, or a wise idiot, that is oxymoron. All right, so let's now erase this, and then we go to our next slide, and we will continue with question number 13. All right, okay, so here we are. Let's go over to the next. Now, Question 13 has a number of lines, and we are told read the poem and answer questions 13 to 15. And so let's read the poem here. All right. Let me pick something. All right. Here she lies, a pretty bird. Well, there is something here. I've just discovered that that is a typo. Now, the word used here is bird, B-U-D. All right. So not bird per se, bird. You know, so here she lies, a pretty bird, lately made of flesh and blood, who as soon fell fast asleep as her little eyes did peep. Give her strewings, but not stir. All right, so the earth that lightly covers her. Okay, so we have read the poem. Let's now address the questions. Question 13. The poem is about a or an a flower. Well, it's because bird is mentioned here does not really mean it refers to a flower. Look at the pronoun she, all right? That is really not personifying the bird. A reference to flesh and blood here is not likely to refer to a flower, all right? And who as soon fell fast asleep. We don't expect a flower to fall asleep. As her little eyes did peep is not likely to refer to a flower. All right, so the earth that lightly covers her is probably referring to her burial. All right, so it's really not correct to say that the poem is about a flower. You see, in analyzing a piece of literature, you have to look at the writer's choice of words. The choice of words will determine your analysis, because every piece of literature is a product of the use of language. So you cannot analyze literature outside the meanings of the words used. The words could have literal or metaphorical or figurative meaning, but the vehicle or the tool for analyzing that piece of literature is language all the same. So you cannot take the meaning of a poem entirely away from the context, all right? So that is exactly what I want to explain. The option B is old woman. As far as I am concerned, I can't find anything in the use of words here that will give us a clue that it is about an old woman. You see, there is something we call context clues. Context clues. And this also is necessary when analyzing a poem or any other piece of literature. You see, from context clue, we talk of contextualization. All right? You have to look at the linguistic environment within which words are used, and you put all of them together when analyzing a piece of literature. Now, let's look at these words. Here she lies. Obviously, it's telling us about a female entity, right? That's the only resemblance that an old woman can have to the character being portrayed here. But when we talk of a pretty bird, now the word bird, B-U-D, refers to a newly formed part of a flower or a plant. So we can't describe an old woman as a bird. Obviously, an old woman could be referred to as an old branch, but necessarily not a new one. Now, lately made of flesh and blood. Lately here means recently. So we can't say that an old woman is just a recent creation because she has come into being and has lived for a reasonable period of time before we can describe her as old. So then who as soon fell fast asleep? So we are talking of someone who has died prematurely here. So an old woman, you know, if this is referring to an old woman, then we cannot say that she as soon fell asleep because an old woman has lived long enough. As her little eyes did peep, so obviously, you know, then give her string but not stir the head that lightly covers her. So it's talking about the death of a little child. So the obvious answer here is a little child, all right? So this is how we analyze a piece of literature. We have to take the words used within that context to actually figure out the meaning. Now, obviously, there's nothing in this context that refers to a traveler, all right? Okay, so let's now look at question number 14. The persona's mood is one of anger. No, there's nothing that is portraying anger here, because when you examine the mood or the tone of a piece of literature, you take the choice of words into consideration. And if someone is angry, then he or she will use angry words. We don't find angry words here. So there's nothing to give us a clue to, you know, the mood of anger here. B, admiration. Yes, I find a lot of words pointing to admiration. For example, here she lies, a pretty, you know, that this points to admiration. Lately made of flesh and blood, who as soon fell fast asleep as her little eyes did peep. All right. Give her strings but not stir the earth that lightly covers her. So at least we find the description. If you describe someone as pretty, then you admire the person. All right. So we can say that yes, the mood of admiration. Indifference, no. Indifference means you don't care, but certainly the poet cares about this person. Then joy is really out of it, because what is being depicted here is probably the death of a child. So there's nothing that is joyful about it. So now question number 15. The rhyme pattern is A, B, C, A, B, C. Well, no, before we really answer this, okay, let's analyze it before we really, okay, let's analyze it. But I would like to, well, okay, let me see here. Okay, let me pick a different color here. What color? Let me pick this. Okay, then I take the text. So here we find, we call this A, all right? This is how to analyze the rhyme pattern. We call this A, then because this is a well, okay. You know, when we talk of rhyme, then of course we talk of the sound. This is bad. And when we talk of bad, then we are talking of the central sound. And so this is also A, all right? This is also A because it's the same sound. This is blood and this is bad, blood, bad, all right? Then sleep is a different sound. And what we find here, we call this B. All right. And then this one, we call it P as well, because sleep and peep contain the same sound. They are rhyme. The first two are rhymes, and the second two are rhymes. And then we go to the next one, and what we have is stare, stare. Now, stare is, you know, the sound we have in bird or girl, you know, B-I-R-D, G-I-R-L, all right, the same sound. So we call this C. And then this one is a similar sound, hair, stare, hair. So this is C. So you can see what we have is A, B, B, C, C. Now, you need to understand how to analyze the rhyme pattern of a poem. And I want to teach you how to do that here, so that you don't just, many students fail because they do not have this literary skill. They do not have this knowledge of what to do. So they resort to gambling, you know. They just pick something randomly, and that is a recipe for failure. You need to understand how to do it. When you learn how to do it, then when you are confronted by a question, you do it. You use that particular procedure and you get it right. So we have seen A, B, B, C, C. So option A is A, B, C, A, B, C. No. Then option B is A, B, B, C, C. Marvelous, marvelous. So you can see how we get it right. So this is correct. Now, option C is A, B, C, C. No. D, A, B, C, B, C. No. The correct answer is B. All right. And you can see how we arrived at the answer. Okay, so let's wipe this and then let's go right away to the next slide, and then we solve the remaining questions. All right. I hope you are following. Then we have question number 16. A play in which characters act through gestures and facial expressions is a pantomime. Correct. You know, I referred to this earlier when I talked about mime. This is really a typo here. It's not mine, it's mime. Well, you know, it's pantomime. Let me correct this. This is pantomime. Pantomime. All right. So that's exactly, you know, from mime, we have mimetic. All right. So this has to do with, you know, a play that uses gestures and facial expressions for dramatization. All right. Option B is burlesque. Burlesque is a different kind of, you know, drama. Of course, it's a kind of drama. It's a form of satire, all right, that actually ridicules by imitation, you know, that mocks a subject, all right. It's a kind of satire. Now, farce is also a type of drama, but the major features of farce is, you know, improbable situations, unlikely situations, and also the use of exaggeration. Then melodrama is also a kind of drama, a kind of play, but the features are, you know, the use of sensational characters and situations that are used to, you know, appeal to the emotions of the audience. So that is melodrama. So the answer to question number 16 is pantomime. Question number 17, all right? Characterization refers to A, how characters are grouped, no. B, readers' opinions of the characters, no. C, how characters are depicted. I will go for C because characterization is the way and manner in which a writer presents the characters in a story or play with a view to making them believable, you know. Characters are the agents that carry out the, you know, the events or actions of a play or story. Well, when you say the roles played by characters, well, you know, these roles played by characters, you know, are relevant to characterization, but characterization actually is a deliberate a deliberate depiction of characters. You know, there are different methods of characterization. When you have the direct characterization, the author just describes the characters, you know. So it's not really about roles per se. Roles are part of characterization, but characterization is the unique method adopted by the writer in presenting the characters. It is how the characters are depicted or portrayed, all right? So that is characterization. Now, question number 18, in a literary work, the foil is one who A, complements another character, no. B, contrasts, yes. Now, a foil is a character that is introduced in a work of art in order to show some opposite qualities, you know. For example, if you find a protagonist, I mean, the major character is harsh, then the foil is going to be considerate, and, you know, so that is to highlight the opposite characters, you know, to make a contrast, all right? So that is what a foil does. If you are conversant with, you know, different works of art like plays and novels, you find that, you know, some writers will always bring a character that is opposite to the main character and then present them so that through the actions of the foil, you will be able to understand the main character in a deeper form. That's the purpose of the foil. Now, C, introduces conflict, no. D, resolves conflict, no. The answer is contrast another character. Question number 19, dramatis personae refers to A, audience, no. B, characters, no. Well, it's a list of the characters, to be precise. C, chorus, no. D, cast, yes. The cast refers to the characters that perform in a story or in a play, and dramatis personae also refers to the list of the characters in a work of art. So the dramatis personae obviously refers to the cast. Question number 20, the last but not the least, a literary device used to enhance sound effect in poetry is A, imagery, no. Imagery refers to the use of words that appeal to the senses, all right? That's imagery that creates pictures in the minds of the audience. That is imagery. Alliteration is obviously correct, because when you talk of alliteration, that is the obvious device that makes use of sound here. You know, when you say the little lad lied to the lax, for example, you repeat the consonant L in, in the words there. All right. So it's a deliberate repetition of the initial consonant sounds in the words in a line of a poem. And so that is alliteration. And alliteration is used to enhance sound effect in poetry. So that is obviously correct. Now, a refrain is a repetition, but not necessarily of certain sounds in poetry. A refrain is the repetition of sometimes even a stanza. If you refer to the video I uploaded recently on the themes of Caged Bird by Maya Angelou, you will see that some of the stanzas in that poem are repeated. A situation where you find, for example, stanza 2 being repeated in stanza 4, and another stanza being repeated in stanza 6. That is a refrain. All right, that's a refrain. Now, a symbol is something that is used to represent another. For example, if you refer to the video I just uploaded on the themes of fences by August Wilson, then you discover that the word fences is used there to symbolize the barriers that develop or arise among members of the family. All right, so fences. Then if you also refer to Caged Bird, my analysis of the themes of Caged Bird by Maya Angelou, you will also discover that the two birds, the free bird and the caged bird, are used in that poem to symbolize the white Americans and the black Americans, respectively. So the caged bird and the free birds are symbols. So that is really what symbols mean. Something that, stands or represents, stands for or represents another. Now, a literary device used to enhance sound effect in poetry is alliteration. So, and that is exactly what it is. This is where we draw the curtain in today's poem, in today's video, not poem, please, today's analysis, in today's video, in which we have, devoted our time to solving the questions taken from the 2019 past literature in English questions. All right, we actually use this video to teach you how to answer questions on literary appreciation, or what is now known as general knowledge of literature. All right, so yeah, and as I explained, you need to understand the use of literary terms. Literary terms are the tools for analyzing literature. We can say that literary terms are analytical tools for appreciating works of art. And of course, when you understand and familiarize yourself with the various literary terms, you'll be able to analyze literature and answer questions correctly, especially when it comes to the questions in section A, part 1 of your literature in English, objective test questions. Now, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, like the video and share it with your friends and relations. If you have any friend or a relation or an associate who is going to sit for any of these upcoming senior school certificate examinations, such as West African Senior School Certificate Examination or National Examinations Council Senior School Certificate Examinations, NABTEB, or any other equivalent exam, to do the person a favor, you could share this video with them. Obviously, they will find it very useful and will be so thankful to you when they actually find this a factor in their ultimate success in that exam. Having said that, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. If you have not subscribed to this channel, this is the appropriate time for you to please make sure you hit the subscribe button and click on the notification bell as well, so that whenever I upload a new video on the channel, you will receive instant notification. All right, so that exactly is what you need to do. I want to say a big thank you to all of you who have been part of today's episode. I also want to thank all of you out there who have given massive support to this channel. Only recently, we got this channel monetized, and I want to emphasize that it wouldn't have been possible to achieve that success without your support. Obviously, I'm so thankful to all of you out there. You are so much supportive, and I want to appreciate your support to this channel. And I want to pray that the Almighty God might reward you abundantly in whatever you are doing right now. May the good Lord reward you as you have also supported this channel. May massive support come your way in whatever you are doing. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Goodbye for now, and remain blessed. Many thanks for watching today's video. A big thank you to all of you out there for being part of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, kindly subscribe to this channel. Subscribe now as a way of giving us support. For notification about new videos, click on the bell icon. You will find the bell icon. Click on it so that whenever a new video is uploaded, you will be instantly notified. If you have actually enjoyed the video, like and share the video with your friends and relatives. This is very important. If you have any comments, leave your comments below. Any questions, any suggestions, we would gladly receive them and respond promptly and positively to them. See you in the next video. I look forward to always seeing you in the new video.